So let's try to create a few boxes, and the way to do that, you go here to the Create tab, and I actually had to read this from a piece of paper. I had to write it down because I think it's so difficult to actually explain it. I promise it's not as difficult to do it. So you click on the box here, which is kind of simple. And then you move your mouse to the viewport, you click the left mouse button and hold while you drag the shape of the box. And once you have the square, you let off of your click and you'll be able to drag up without clicking, and then when you click again, you'll create your shape. Now you'll see that this plus here, it's still on the screen, which kind of means that now if I click again, it's going to try to create more boxes. So to get rid of that, I'll just right click and basically I'm out of that box creation mode. So in order to create the other shapes, it's basically the same thing. So you just left click and you just drag the mouse and you let go and you'll see the sphere or the plane, or the cone. And if you open this drop down list, you'll see there's extended primitives as well, which are basically more weird shapes. Sometimes I'm wondering how 3D Studio Max actually comes up with these shapes. I'm hoping there's some sort of research behind why people would need a ring wave. I've never used it. Never. So this is how you actually create these primitives and how you put them inside the scene. So now that we have all these inside the scene, let's just select one of the boxes and let's see how the modify panel actually looks like. You see that this is the name of the primitive, which you can actually change. And there is a few values here that kind of define the length, the width, the height. So if you're not happy with how the shape turned out, you can change that from here. But you can also change the length segments, the width segments, and the height segments. So that means more of these lines get added. These lines together form more polygons, which means that this little cube, or is not a cube, but is formed of more geometry right now. So I'll just do something really quick that you don't have to, just to show you something. So these here are actually polygons, and these polygons form all the shapes that we are going to use in our 3D scenes. If I go to the sphere right here, and I'll do the same thing, you'll see all these polygons that form the 3D shape. And that happens to all the shapes. So now I'm just going to delete everything that we have inside the scene, besides the box. So you can select all of these and hit delete, but because my keyboard is not working, there's a way to work around that. If you press X and just type delete, bam, deleted them. So I can select these, press X and delete. Alright, so what I wanted to actually show you is how to move the cube around these axes. So there's a keyboard for it. the W is actually the move tool. I'm not really sure that's the official name for it, but that's basically what it does. If I select the y-axis, it's going to move on the y-axis, the x, and the z-axis. If I press E on my keyboard, this is the rotate tool. It works on the axis as well as the move tool. And if I press, let me just go back for a bit. If I press R on my keyboard, this is the scale tool. So you can use this as well as the modify panel to change the size. Another thing that's really helpful is how to duplicate items. So if, for example, I select one of the axes, so let's say I'm going to go for the Y, and hold shift and just drag the mouse, you're going to see that it makes a copy of the object. Now there is a couple of options that you have. There's a copy, which means that these two objects are going to be treated as separate ones. There's an instance, which means that whatever modifier you apply to this one, it's going to translate to this one as well. And honestly, I forgot what the reference was, but we're just going to go with a copy for now, and I'll come back with an answer. So this is how we create a copy, and this is going to come really and this is going to be really helpful, because especially with environment modeling, and if there's a modular scene, you're going to need lots of copies of everything. So this is really helpful. So now that we kind of know how to put objects, 3D objects inside the scene, and how to move them around, and how to manipulate them a bit, I would advise you to play around with it for a while, and for this I kind of have some sort of a challenge in which I would like you to create a 3D scene only using 3D scene that kind of makes sense only using the objects and the primitives here, and the standard primitives or the extended primitives. And I'll do the same thing and speed up the process, but hopefully you will get creative with it and do whatever you want with the shapes that you can find here. What the hell am I gonna